Good evening, everyone. I'm going to say it's gobble gobble time. No, it's talking turkey time with me, the brand ambassador for JD Farms. We are so grateful that you come along on this journey as I create recipes out of my own home kitchen using the JD Farms products. I was at JD Farms the other day and saw they only had about 3 or 4 cottage rolls in the cooler. So I'm going to say a few of you watched the recipe that I did last week and went in and bought yourself a cottage roll so you could make that New England style boiled dinner. Great value on that particular piece of meat. Actually, all the different cuts of JD Farms turkey products and pieces in the whole bird are such a great value because it's a lot of good meat, and of course our birds are treated very well. So tonight's recipe, as I got thinking about it, someone can please correct me. Is an empanada Spanish? Spanish? Or is it South American? I think it is South American. So this is just a bit of a play on it, and I'm not making my own dough, and I know empanada dough is a little bit different. I just happen to have some puff pastry in my house. If you want to find a empanada dough, you're more than welcome to do it. The reason why I'm using a puff pastry is most times empanadas are deep fried, and I don't like deep frying. I like baking. So I find using puff pastry is that much easier to use. So tonight's recipe is my version of an empanada. We could almost call it a bit of a turkey popover. I have got half a package of our chorizo meat. This has got really good spices in it. And I'm going to start everything in a cold pan. So I've got a teaspoon of a neutral olive oil in my pan, and that's going to go into it. Hopefully some more people are going to come on tonight. I hope you are having a great night. We're one more day, and we are on Friday again. So just get that in there into my pan. Oh, and I'll use that to get that up. So we've got that in our cold pan. Want to add to that? Oh, let me come over here. And I've got a half a small onion. Let's see if I might need to pull my camera down just a bit. Okay. Half a small yellow cooking onion. I want to cut this up really small as I can get it, because nobody wants a big chunk of onion in their little empanada. And we'll do that in air quotes. Okay. So very fine dice. Watching our fingers at all times. Slicing that up. So all together, I'm going to say that's probably about 1/3 of a cup of finely diced onions going into the pan. And you'll probably say, I'm not hearing the sizzle. I'm starting everything with a cold pan. Okay, normally in an empanada, they put some sort of green, like green peas or a mixed vegetable. I happen to have some cranberries, and I cut them in half. And the reason why I wanted to cut them in half, so if you take a look, inside a cranberry is kind of like, it looks like a little bit of a heart in there. Well, I want my spices and stuff like that to kind of go inside of that. So I've got about, 1/4 cup of frozen thawed cranberries. And I've got a can of sliced olives. So I'm going to put, a couple of teaspoons, so maybe about a tablespoon of sliced olive into my cold pan. And I've got the JD Farms blackening seasoning. When I took a look at the ingredients in our blackening seasoning, it's all the spices that I want to use for the seasoning. So nice big teaspoon of that. Okay, guys. So I'm going to bring you over to the pan cam, and then we're going to start working on our pastry dough. So if you see, we've got cold pan, about half a pound of the chorizo sausage, the onion, the cranberry, the black olive, and the spices. We just want to slowly bring that up, and it will cook pretty quickly. So, and here it's starting to sizzle already. Okay, while that's doing, And I've moved this out of the way. That's all the chopping we have to do. Let's come back over to the pan can. Over to the cutting board can. I've got a piece of puff pastry. I'm going to put a little bit of bench flour down on my cutting board. I'm going to cut this piece of puff pastry in half. Put a little bit of flour on each side. And I don't have a rolling pin, I just have this funky roller. I want to get it down to about 1/4 of an inch. And it takes some elbow grease. I'm going to try this side. Yeah, that's a little better. Roll that out. Should have taken my puff pastry out a little bit earlier. When I moved 3 years ago, I think I gave away my rolling pin. Always kind of keeping an eye on my pan in the corner. My puff pastry is very, very cold. Okay, just going to give my pan a bit of a stir. Making the filling, I'll kind of come back over here so you guys can see. We're making the filling to go inside these empanadas. I'm calling it an empanada. Could be a popover if you want, if you will. But make sure you break up that turkey meat very well, because it's going to be stuffed inside our puff pastry. If you had some frozen peas, you could put in 1/4 cup of peas into this to give it a little bit of color in the inside. I just think the tang and the saltiness, the tang of the cranberry, the saltiness of that the olives, the spiciness of the meat. And that all chopped up in there. Okay, so that's good there. Get back over. I gotta keep rolling out this puff pastry. I gotta find my rolling pin. Oh, that's better. It's warming up now. Gotta roll it out. Hey, has anybody got a trick for rolling pin? Oh, you know what? I could use a bottle of wine. In a pinch, I think I saw my grandma use a bottle of wine. I'm gonna get this really, really thin. Oh, and there's the layers. I'm gonna take one piece away here so I can really work on it. Oh, a little bit more bench flour. Gotta get it, oh, I'm going to say 1/4 of a centimeter. Gotta get it nice and thin. You don't want it to be doughy. Nice and thin. Oh, check my meat. I'm going to heat up just a bit so this is cooking. Breaking up this meat. Let's keep rolling this. Give it a turn. That's better. My dough was too cold. The thing is when we're done and we're stuffing these, we want to put them back into the fridge before we bake them off. You always want to have cold pastry going into the oven so it doesn't run and separate. This is a good workout. Almost there. Okay, a little bit more. I have this fancy, it's really a pierogi maker, works really well. And if you didn't have one of those, we would just fold it in half. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So we take a look. Oh, we're getting there. We need to be about there. So a little bit more. So we remember how the size of it was when I first started? Okay, I think that's good. For our first one, let's come back over to the pan cam. Okay, to the pan, I'm going to turn my heat up just a little bit more. Really want to break up that meat. Make sure it's very well cooked. Oh, the smell of the cranberries cooking is just quite delightful. Woo, spice heating up. 1/3 of a cup of black bean going in there. Just going to grab another fork. Whoop, I'll turn this down now. Okay. Breaking up that meat. It's so lean. Our turkey products are just so lean. Okay. Just gonna breaking that up. And to this, we want to add a tablespoon of tomato paste. So I love this tomato paste in the tube. And this is a sun-dried tomato paste. That's all I have in my house. A nice, good tablespoon. I can eyeball it. Okay. Mixing that around. Really want to make sure, oh, that tomato paste smells delicious. Okay. So that's good. So let's go over to the pastry now. Back over here. And we have our, picked up from JD Farm, some beautiful chili gouda. And a little bit of cheese going into each one of them. So maybe about that size. Just enough to give a little bit of gooiness. Okay. We're going to put our pastry inside. Give it a little bit of a divot so it can go in there. Put that in there. Let's do a teaspoon of our mix. This is going to make a lot of empanadas, guys. We could freeform this. Okay. Let's tuck that in. Might have put too much in there, guys. I'm overzealous tonight. Okay. Want to pull that over. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? You gotta wet the edges. Gotta wet the edges. That's gonna seal it in. Okay. So now you pull that over. Crimp that down. Give it a really big squeeze. There we go. Let's trim off that excess. Got a nice little empanada. So I'm going to do one more. I'm going to turn my heat off there. So you can see that if you didn't have one of those fancy gizmos, see if I can get this rolled out fast enough. Yeah, my dough is much nicer when it's a little bit more room temperature. All rolled up there. It's not real perfection when it comes to cooking. It's as long as you're having fun. You want to get it kind of square rolled out. that's better. Okay, and we're gonna go in, a little piece of cheese, maybe 2 pieces of cheese because this one is bigger. Put some meat in there, all that great beans. Okay, we want to come back with our fingers, wet the edge of the dough, fold that over, and you're crimping it down like so. These are very rustic. It's fun in the kitchen. Take your fork and give it just a little bit of a press. That way that pastry is going to kind of get stuck together. And there we go. We have a beautiful empanada. So that's going to go on my my piece of parchment into my fridge. It's going to set up nice and cold because they're going to get nice and cold again. And then I'll bake them in the oven, put a little bit of olive oil on the top or a neutral oil on the top, and bake them until they're golden brown. So I hope you make these my style of empanadas tonight. Enjoy the night and get in the kitchen and make some beautiful food for your family and friends. Thank you so much. I'll see you next Thursday.